1. The silent debt you're creating every day. Every day, you are making promises, not out loud, not written, but real. You are making promises to someone you will become, your future self. And whether you realize it or not, you're either preparing a gift for that person or leaving them a burden. The Stoics understood something most people avoid. Time does not forgive negligence. It only delivers consequences. Your future self will wake up inside the body, mind, and life you are building right now. Not tomorrow, not next year, but today. Every habit you avoid, every discipline you delay, every uncomfortable action you refuse, it doesn't disappear. It waits. The Stoic view of responsibility. Stoicism is not about being harsh. It is about being honest. The Stoics believe that life is governed by cause and effect, not luck, not fate, not hope. Marcus Aurelius wrote as a reminder to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength." But power over the mind is not granted. It is trained. And training requires discipline, not when you feel like it, but especially when you don't. The debt you don't see. Most people think discipline is about today. It's not. It's about interest. When you skip discipline today, your future self pays interest in the form of regret, anxiety, weakness, missed potential, self-distrust. Stoicism teaches this harsh truth gently. The pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret compounds. And the tragedy? Most people don't notice the debt growing until it owns them. Why this hurts to hear? Because deep down you already know. You know what you've been avoiding. You know the conversation you keep postponing, the habit you keep delaying, the version of yourself you keep promising to become. Stoicism doesn't judge you for this. It simply asks, who will suffer if you continue this way? And the answer is never no one. Discipline is an act of compassion. Stoics didn't see discipline as cruelty. They saw it as care for the future. To act with discipline today is to say to your future self, I didn't abandon you. I prepared the ground. I did the hard things, so you wouldn't have to suffer more than necessary. That is not punishment. That is love, expressed quietly. A question only you can answer. If your future self could speak to you right now, not angrily, not accusingly, just honestly, would they thank you? Or would they ask, why didn't you take this seriously when you had the chance? Stoicism exists for this moment, not to inspire you, but to wake you up. 2. Discipline is not punishment. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it is cruelty, restriction, a hard hand forcing them into a life they don't want. The Stoics thought the opposite. They believed lack of discipline was the real punishment. Because without discipline, you are ruled by impulse. And impulse does not care about your future. The lie we were taught. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that comfort is kindness, ease is success, avoiding pain is wisdom. The Stoics would have quietly disagreed, not because they hated pleasure, but because they understood its cost. Epictetus warned, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Read that slowly, not master of others, not master of circumstances, master of himself. And mastery does not come from indulgence. It comes from discipline. Discipline as freedom, not force. True Stoic discipline is not about doing more. It's about needing less. Less validation, less distraction, less escape. Discipline is the act of choosing long-term peace over short-term comfort, inner strength over external approval, self-respect over ease. When you practice discipline, you are not punishing yourself. You are protecting yourself from chaos, from regret, from becoming someone you don't recognize. Why discipline feels heavy at first. Discipline feels heavy because it removes anesthesia. It forces you to feel boredom, discomfort, resistance, silence. And silence is terrifying to most people because in silence, you meet yourself. The Stoics believed this meeting was necessary. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul, but only if the soul has been trained." An undisciplined mind is noisy, restless, anxious. Discipline is what calms it. Pain with purpose versus pain without meaning. Stoicism never promised a painless life. It promised meaningful pain. There's pain from discipline, waking early, resisting impulse, doing what is necessary. And there's pain from avoidance, regret, weakness, self-disgust, fear of the future. The Stoics asked one question: which pain leaves you stronger? Because pain is unavoidable. Only its direction is optional. Discipline is an agreement with reality. Reality does not bend to your feelings. The Stoics accepted this calmly. They didn't ask life to be easier. They trained themselves to be stronger. Discipline is how you align with reality instead of fighting it. It says, "This is hard, and I will do it anyway." Not angrily, not dramatically, quietly, daily. The moment discipline changes everything. There's a moment, subtle but powerful, when discipline stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like identity. You no longer ask, "Should I do this?" You say, "This is who I am." That is Stoic power. Not loud, not performative, unshakable. A reframe you must remember. Discipline is not the enemy of joy. It is the guardian of it. Without discipline, joy becomes addiction, pleasure becomes dependence, freedom becomes chaos. With discipline, joy becomes stable, pleasure becomes choice, freedom becomes control. This is why your future self depends on it. 3. the war between your present self and future self. There are two versions of you living inside the same body. They rarely agree. One wants ease. The other wants meaning. One wants comfort now. The other wants strength later. The Stoics understood this inner conflict long before modern psychology named it. They didn't call it procrastination. They called it lack of self-rule. Epictetus spoke plainly. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. What he meant was simple. Your present self will resist discipline because discipline threatens its comfort. Your future self, however, depends on it. The present self thinks short-term. Your present self is not evil. It is human. It wants rest instead of effort, pleasure instead of restraint, escape instead of confrontation. It speaks softly. You can start tomorrow. You've had a hard day, just this once. The danger is not that these thoughts exist. The danger is that they win too often, because every time they win, your future self loses something. Confidence, strength, trust in you. Stoicism asks a brutal but fair question. Who is in command? The future self is silent until it isn't. Your future self does not argue with you today. It doesn't interrupt your scrolling. It doesn't shout when you avoid discomfort. It waits. And then one day, it speaks through anxiety, regret, exhaustion, bitterness, the feeling of being behind in life. That voice says, you knew better. Stoic discipline exists to prevent this moment, not by guilt, but by responsibility. Discipline is choosing who you serve. Every decision serves someone, either your present cravings or your future stability. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? Not, is this enjoyable? Is this easy? Is this popular? Necessary for what you are becoming. Discipline is not about saying no to life. It is about saying yes to the right version of yourself. The pain of betrayal versus the pain of effort. Effort hurts, but betrayal hurts deeper. And the worst betrayal is not of others. It is of yourself. Every time you avoid what you know you should do, a quiet fracture forms inside. Stoics believe this fracture was more dangerous than failure, because failure teaches, betrayal erodes character. Discipline is how you remain whole. A Stoic exercise. Imagine your future self sitting in front of you, not angry, not disappointed, just tired. Look at them, their body, their eyes, their posture. Now ask, what did I leave you? Stoic discipline is answering that question before it's too late. 4. Why motivation fails and discipline endures. Motivation is loud. It arrives suddenly. It speaks and promises. It tells you that change will be easy this time. The Stoics did not trust it, not because motivation is useless, but because it is unreliable. Motivation comes and goes with mood, energy, weather, praise, hope. Discipline stays. And your future self does not need enthusiasm. Your future self needs consistency. The problem with motivation. Motivation feels powerful in the beginning. It creates a rush, a sense of clarity, a belief that everything will finally change. But motivation depends on emotion, and emotions are unstable. They rise, they fall, they disappear when life becomes inconvenient. The Stoics noticed this long ago. Seneca wrote, "If you desire to be steady, avoid relying on what can be taken away." Motivation can be taken away by fatigue, disappointment, rejection, boredom, silence. Discipline cannot. Because discipline is not a feeling. It is a decision. Motivation wants results without identity change. Motivation focuses on outcomes, success, recognition, transformation, praise. Discipline focuses on character. This is why motivation fades, because it wants rewards before the work reshapes you. Stoicism teaches the opposite path. You become the person first, and the results follow naturally. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. No excitement, no hype, just action." Why motivation betrays you when it matters most. Motivation disappears precisely when you need it most. When you are tired, no one is watching, results are slow, progress is invisible, a life feels heavy. In those moments, motivation has nothing to say. Discipline speaks quietly. Do it anyway. Stoics train themselves for these moments, not the easy ones, because those moments define who you become. Discipline is built in boring moments. Discipline is not born in dramatic decisions. It is built in repetition. In ordinary days, in uncelebrated effort, in doing the same thing again without applause. This is why discipline feels dull to most people. But Stoics understood boredom is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Epictetus taught, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Not wait until you feel inspired, but act in alignment with who you choose to be." Motivation as a trap. Motivation makes you dependent on external conditions. You wait for the right mood, the right time, the right energy, the right circumstances. Discipline frees you from waiting. It says, "This matters. I act regardless." The Stoics believed freedom was internal. You are free not when life is easy, but when your actions are no longer controlled by comfort. The Stoic advantage, emotional neutrality. Stoics didn't seek emotional highs. They sought emotional stability. They trained themselves to act without emotional interference, not because emotions are wrong, but because emotions are inconsistent. Discipline allows you to act despite them. This is strength. Quiet strength, invisible strength, the kind that compounds over time. The moment discipline replaces motivation, there's a moment, often unnoticed, when discipline takes over. You no longer ask, "Do I feel like it?" You ask, "Is this aligned with my values?" This shift changes everything. Your actions stop depending on mood. Your identity becomes solid. Your future becomes predictable in a good way. Stoics value predictability of character over excitement of emotion, because character is what remains when life strips everything else away. Why your future self needs discipline, not motivation. Your future self will not remember your motivation. They will live with the habits you built, the skills you trained, the discipline you practiced, the standards you enforced. Motivation does not build systems. Discipline does. And systems are what sustain a life. A Stoic reflection. Ask yourself, slowly, what have I been waiting to feel motivated about? What if motivation never comes? What if discipline is the only bridge between who I am and who I want to become? Stoicism answers clearly. Begin anyway. 5. Comfort is the most dangerous addiction. Comfort does not arrive loudly. It does not demand your attention. It does not announce itself as a threat. It arrives quietly, wrapped in justification, disguised as rest, masked as self-care. And that is why the Stoics feared it. Not because comfort is evil, but because it erodes strength without resistance. Comfort never says stop. Comfort never tells you that you've had enough. It says, you deserve this. You've done enough. Just today. The danger is not the moment of comfort. The danger is the habit of it, because habits shape character, and character shapes destiny. The Stoics believe this deeply. Seneca warned, luxury weakens a mind, not instantly, gradually. Why comfort feels safe, but is not? Comfort feels safe because it removes friction. No struggle, no resistance, no discomfort. But friction is where strength is forged. Without it, the mind softens, discipline fades, resilience disappears. Comfort does not prepare you for difficulty. It leaves you exposed to it. Stoics did not seek pain, but they did not flee from it either. They understood, avoiding discomfort does not remove suffering. It delays it. The subtle decay of the undisciplined life. An undisciplined life rarely collapses suddenly. It declines quietly. A little less effort, a little more avoidance, a little more distraction, until one day you look at your life and wonder, how did I get here? Stoicism exists to prevent that moment, not through fear, but through awareness. Comfort steals time without asking. Comfort consumes time in fragments, minutes here, hours there, days without meaning. And time, the Stoics believed, is the only non-renewable possession. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Comfort makes you forget this. It convinces you that time is endless. It isn't. The Stoic relationship with discomfort. Stoics train themselves to experience discomfort voluntarily. Cold, hunger, silence, solitude, not to suffer, but to remember that they could. Discomfort was a reminder, I am stronger than I think, and that knowledge changes how you face life. When discomfort becomes familiar, fear loses its power. Why comfort makes discipline feel impossible? The more comfortable your life becomes, the more discipline feels like punishment. Not because discipline is harsher, but because comfort has lowered your tolerance. Stoics raised their tolerance intentionally. They didn't wait for hardship to arrive. They prepared. The modern comfort trap. Today, comfort is everywhere. Endless entertainment, instant gratification, constant distraction. Stoics would recognize this as dangerous abundance, not because pleasure is wrong, but because dependence is. When you cannot sit with silence, you are not free. When you cannot endure boredom, you are controlled. Discipline as resistance to decay. Discipline is resistance, not dramatic, not aggressive, quiet resistance to decay. It says, I will not let comfort decide my future. It is not about doing extreme things. It is about doing necessary things consistently. A Stoic question. Ask yourself honestly, where has comfort made me weaker? What have I avoided because it felt unpleasant? What future difficulty am I creating by avoiding present discomfort? Stoicism does not demand perfection. It demands awareness. Why your future self fears your comfort. Your future self is not afraid of effort. They are afraid of your avoidance, because avoidance compounds, and comfort makes avoidance feel justified. Discipline breaks that spell. 6. Stoic training for pain, resistance, and fear. The Stoics did not wait for life to test them. They trained before the test arrived. They understood a truth that most people learn too late. Pain is inevitable. Unprepared pain is devastating. Stoic discipline was never about avoiding suffering. It was about meeting it without panic. Pain is not the enemy. Modern thinking treats pain as a mistake, something to escape, something to numb, something to avoid at all costs. The Stoics disagreed. They believed pain was a teacher, not a cruel one, but an honest one. Seneca wrote, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Pain reveals what comfort hides, where you are weak, what you fear, what you depend on, what controls you. Discipline begins by facing pain deliberately. Voluntary hardship, the forgotten practice. One of the most misunderstood Stoic practices was voluntary hardship. They would eat simply even when food was abundant, dress plainly despite wealth, sleep without luxury, expose themselves to cold, practice silence, not to punish themselves, but to ask one question: Can I endure this? And when the answer was yes, fear lost its grip. Why fear thrives in comfort? Fear grows where resistance is absent. When you avoid difficulty, your imagination becomes more powerful than reality. You fear rejection you've never faced, pain you've never tested, loss you've never prepared for. Stoic training reduces fear through exposure, not reassurance. They didn't say, nothing bad will happen. They said, if it does, I will endure it. That difference changes everything. The discipline of endurance. Endurance is not stubbornness. It is calm persistence. The Stoics train endurance by finishing what they started, not quitting when bored, not reacting emotionally to discomfort, not explaining themselves constantly. They learn that strength is silent. Epictetus taught, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Endurance does not seek applause. It seeks integrity. Resistance is where character is forged. Every act of discipline meets resistance. The body resists effort. The mind resists restraint. The ego resists humility. Stoics did not see resistance as a sign to stop. They saw it as confirmation that they were doing something meaningful. Resistance says, this matters. Discipline answers, I continue. Training the mind to stay present. Pain becomes unbearable when the mind panics. Stoics train themselves to stay present, not thinking, how long will this last? What if it gets worse? Why is this happening? But asking, what is required of me right now? This reduced suffering dramatically, because most suffering is imagined future pain, not present reality. Fear of loss and Stoic preparation. Stoics practice negative visualization. They imagine loss, not to become depressed, but to become grateful and resilient. They ask, what if this disappears? And instead of panic, they found clarity. Because when you accept impermanence, fear loses leverage. Emotional discipline under pressure. Stoic discipline shines brightest under pressure, not reacting, not lashing out, not collapsing, holding steady. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, if it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. Not as cruelty, as empowerment. Complaining does not reduce pain. It multiplies it. The quiet confidence of the trained mind. There is a confidence that comes from appearance, and there is confidence that comes from endurance. The second cannot be taken away. A disciplined mind knows, I have survived worse, and that knowledge is calming. Why your future self needs this training. Your future self will face loss, rejection, failure, uncertainty, aging, endings. They will not need comfort. They will need inner steadiness. Every act of discipline today is a lesson in survival, not survival of the body, but survival of the spirit. 7. Daily discipline that builds quiet power. Quiet power does not announce itself. It does not rush. It does not perform. It does not beg for recognition. It is built in small, unremarkable moments when no one is watching, when excuses will be easy, when comfort will be tempting. The Stoics understood this better than any generation after them. They knew that greatness is not dramatic. It is consistent. Power without noise. Modern culture mistakes noise for power. Loud opinions, public victories, constant visibility. The Stoics pursued the opposite. They believed that the strongest person in the room is often the quietest, because they do not need validation. Epictetus taught, "Seek not for events to happen as you wish, but wish for events to happen as they do happen, and your life will go well." This is not passivity. It is mastery. Morning discipline, setting the inner tone. The Stoic day began before the world intruded, before messages, before demands, before chaos. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations in the morning, not for others, but to remind himself who he intended to be. Morning discipline is not about productivity. It is about orientation. You ask, what matters today? What is within my control? What must I accept without complaint? Without this, the day controls you. Discipline of thought. The first habit Stoics mastered was thought selection. They knew that not every thought deserved attention. A thought is not a command. It is a suggestion. The disciplined mind asks, is this useful? Is this true? Is this within my control? If not, it is dismissed. This practice alone reshapes identity, because what you think repeatedly, you become. Discipline of speech. Stoics spoke less and said more. They avoided complaining, gossip, unnecessary explanation, emotional venting, not because feelings were forbidden, but because speech shapes character. Seneca warned, where there are human beings, there is an opportunity for kindness or restraint. Silence was power. Restraint was dignity. Discipline of action. Stoic action was deliberate. They did not rush. They did not hesitate endlessly. They acted according to principle, not impulse. Before acting, they asked, is this aligned with virtue? Is this necessary? Is this mine to do? This created clarity, and clarity creates confidence. Discipline of the body. Stoics respected the body as a tool, not an idol. They trained it. They maintained it. They did not worship it. Physical discipline reinforced mental discipline. Cold, hunger, fatigue. These were reminders that discomfort is survivable. The body learns obedience when the mind leads. Discipline of time. Stoics treated time as sacred, not because it was scarce, but because it was irreplaceable. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." They avoided meaningless business, idle distraction, compulsive entertainment. They did not need constant stimulation. They valued presence. Discipline of acceptance. This may be the hardest discipline of all. Accepting what cannot be changed, not with bitterness, not with resignation, but with calm clarity. Stoics separated life into two categories: what depends on you, what does not. They gave their energy to the first and released the second. This is freedom. Discipline without perfection. Stoics were not perfect. Marcus Aurelius failed often. Seneca admitted weakness. Epictetus acknowledged struggle. Discipline was not about flawlessness. It was about returning to the path. Every day, without drama, without shame. The identities shift. Over time, discipline stops feeling like effort. It becomes identity. You no longer say, "I am trying to be disciplined." You say, "This is who I am." And that identity carries you forward, even when motivation disappears. Quiet power reveals itself eventually. Stoics did not seek recognition, but recognition often found them. Not because they chased it, but because stability is rare. People notice calm. They respect consistency. They trust restraint. Quiet power does not demand attention. It commands it naturally. 8. Stoic discipline in relationships, conflict, and loneliness. Relationships reveal who we truly are, not success, not solitude, not comfort. People, they test patience. They awaken insecurity. They expose attachment. The Stoics understood that no discipline is complete until it survives human interaction. The illusion of control over others. Most suffering in relationships comes from a single mistake: trying to control what is not ours. Opinions, feelings, reactions, choices. Epictetus was clear. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because approval is not within your control. The Stoic disciplines the self, never the other. Loving without possession. Stoicism does not reject love. It rejects ownership. To love stoically is to say, "I cherish you without demanding you." This is not emotional coldness. It is emotional maturity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so without attachment." Attachment creates fear. Fear creates control. Control destroys connection. Emotional discipline in conflict. Conflict reveals the undisciplined mind. Raised voices, harsh words, regretful reactions. The Stoic response is not silence. It is measured response. Before speaking, the Stoic asks, "Is this necessary? Is this true? Is this kind or restrained?" Anger is delayed. Often, delay dissolves entirely. Winning without victory. Stoics did not aim to win arguments. They aimed to preserve character. Seneca warned, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Victory that costs dignity is defeat." The disciplined person walks away with self-respect intact, even if misunderstood. Boundaries without guilt. Stoics valued boundaries deeply. Not walls, but clarity. They knew Saying no is not cruelty. Distance is sometimes necessary. Peace is a responsibility. A disciplined soul does not explain endlessly. They act with calm finality. The discipline of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is choosing not to carry poison. The Stoics forgave because resentment enslaves the bearer. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Forgiveness protects you, not them. Loneliness is a teacher. Stoics did not fear solitude. They respected it. Loneliness was not a flaw. It was a mirror. In solitude, you meet your thoughts, your fears, your unresolved self. Most people avoid this meeting. The Stoic prepares for it. Becoming complete alone. The disciplined person is self-sufficient, not emotionally closed, but internally whole. They enjoy companionship, but do not depend on it. They can sit in silence without seeking distraction. They are not abandoned. They are grounded. When relationships end, Stoics accepted impermanence. Nothing was guaranteed. Not love, not loyalty, not presence. They grieved, but did not collapse. They reminded themselves, I was given this person for a time, not forever. Acceptance softened loss. Respecting human nature. Stoics expected imperfection. They were not shocked by betrayal, disappointment, or misunderstanding. Marcus Aurelius prepared himself daily. You will meet people who are arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. Expectation prevented bitterness. Emotional restraint is not emotional suppression. This is critical. Stoics did not deny emotion. They governed it. They felt sadness. They felt love. They felt loss. But emotion did not rule action. This distinction defines discipline. Becoming safe to be around. A disciplined person becomes predictable in calm, stable in crisis, fair in conflict. Others trust them, even if they do not always agree. This is rare. This is power. The solitary strength. Stoic discipline ensures this truth. You are never desperate for company. You choose relationships. You do not cling to them. And that choice changes everything. 9. Discipline under pressure, failure, and adversity. Life does not bend to your will. It throws storms, obstacles, betrayals, and heartbreak. The undisciplined mind panics. The undisciplined heart collapses. The Stoic self does not. It grows stronger under pressure. Discipline is tested in adversity, not comfort. Pressure reveals true character. Epictetus taught, difficulties show men what they are. Pressure is inevitable. It strips away vanity, pretension, and excuses. What remains is raw character, your core self. Discipline is the scaffolding that keeps you standing when the world shakes. It is not an ornament. It is armor. The art of enduring hardship. Hardship is a teacher disguised as pain. The disciplined mind asks, what can I learn? How can I respond wisely? How can this strengthen me? Seneca wrote, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests man." Each trial is an opportunity to practice courage, patience, and perseverance. Failure is the stone of growth. Failure is not shameful. It is informative. The Stoic reframes it. Not a wall, but a step. Not a curse, but a lesson. Not defeat, but feedback. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love, even if life tests you." Discipline allows you to stand tall after falling. Maintaining calm in chaos. Pressure often triggers panic, anger, or rash action. Stoicism teaches the opposite: measured response. 3 steps under chaos. Pause. Do not react immediately. Observe. Assess reality, not fear. Act with calm, focused intent. This is how great leaders, thinkers, and warriors survive storms. Pain transformed into power. Discipline does not remove pain, it converts it. Physical pain, emotional grief, betrayal, all can fuel growth. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes a way. Marcus Aurelius. This is the essence of resilience. Adversity becomes a ford for the soul. Self-control under criticism. No one escapes judgment. Friends, strangers, enemies, all criticize. Discipline allows you to accept constructive critique, ignore unnecessary negativity, avoid emotional overreaction. The disciplined person chooses wisdom over ego. They are unmoved by shallow praise or shallow insult. The strength of routine in crisis. When chaos surrounds you, habits are anchors. Waking early, journaling, physical exercise, meditation, or reflection. These rituals keep the mind stable and resilient. Discipline is a framework that supports stability when external life crumbles. Enduring loneliness. Adversity often isolates. Friends may abandon. Opportunities vanish. The Stoics see solitude not as punishment, but as training. Alone, you meet your fears and confront your weaknesses. Alone, discipline matures. Keeping perspective on success and failure. Life is fleeting. Today's victory is tomorrow's memory. Today's loss is tomorrow's lesson. The Stoic keeps perspective. Success is transient. Failure is transient. Integrity is permanent. This mindset reduces panic, anxiety, and desperation, turning weakness into strength. Every flaw, fear, or failure is raw material for growth. Laziness, diligence. Impulsiveness, deliberation. Anger, patience. Fear, courage. Discipline is the tool to transform weakness into power. Dignity amid loss. Loss is inevitable. Money, status, relationships, health. The Stoic does not collapse. They grieve. They honor what was. They continue forward without bitterness or shame. Seneca reminded, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it in fear and distraction." Loss clarified what truly matters. Discipline ensures you keep moving toward what matters. Building a future self that cannot be broken. True Stoic discipline ensures that adversity cannot break you. Mind remains calm. Heart remains steady. Purpose remains clear. Failures are lessons. Pain is fuel. Loneliness is training. Criticism is perspective. Your future self becomes unshakable. 10. The daily practice that shapes destiny. Discipline is not an act. It is a way of being. It is not something you switch on when convenient. It is the architecture of your life, silently building the person you will become. Every morning, every choice, every action is a brick in the fortress of your future self. The power of daily rituals. Consistency compounds. The small disciplined acts you perform daily, meditation, journaling, exercise, reflection, study, create the person you will be in a year, 5 years, a lifetime. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Rituals internalize virtue. They make wisdom automatic. Morning, the foundation of control. How you start the day sets the tone. Silence. Begin with stillness. Observe your thoughts. Let the mind settle. Reflection. Ask, what virtues will I practice today? Courage? Patience? Discipline? Preparation. Visualize challenges. Imagine acting with composure in adversity. Morning rituals prepare the mind for the inevitable chaos of the world. Journaling, the mirror of the mind. Daily writing is a Stoic tool for self-mastery. Record failures without judgment. Record victories without pride. Ask, did I act in accordance with virtue today? Ask, where can I improve tomorrow? Journaling is mental training, sharpening clarity, honesty, and awareness. Physical discipline, strength in the body. The body is the vessel of the mind. Exercise strengthens endurance and resilience. Movement teaches patience and persistence. Physical discomfort trains the mind to endure, accept, and transcend pain. As Epictetus said, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Enduring physical trials trains you to endure all trials. Mental discipline, mastering thoughts. Your thoughts are the architects of your destiny. Notice destructive patterns. Replace impulsive reactions with deliberate responses. Practice reframing. See obstacles as opportunities, loss as insight, failure as growth. Mental discipline is the silent engine behind every Stoic habit. Evening reflection, closing the loop. Night is for assessment. Review actions of the day. Celebrate victories. Accept failures without shame. Plan improvements for tomorrow. Seneca wrote, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." Daily reflection ensures life is intentional, not accidental. The importance of delayed gratification. Discipline often requires sacrificing immediate comfort for long-term growth, saying no to excess, enduring boredom, rejecting distractions. This is how you train willpower. This is how your future self becomes unrecognizable in strength, wisdom, and serenity. Stoic exercises to practice daily. Premeditatio malorum. Imagine challenges before they happen. Prepare your mind to respond calmly. Negative visualization. Contemplate losing what you value to increase appreciation and reduce attachment. Voluntary discomfort. Endure cold, hunger, or minor inconveniences to strengthen resilience. Mindful observation. Watch emotions without judgment. Choose action over reaction. Journaling. Record, reflect, and plan daily growth. These exercises condition the mind and spirit to endure, adapt, and thrive. Stoic discipline as a lifelong companion. Discipline is not a phase. It is a lifelong relationship with your higher self. It humbles your ego, strengthens your character, protects against chaos, illuminates the path through darkness. It is a shield, a compass, and a light, all in one. Your future self, the ultimate reward. Imagine yourself in 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years. Calm in the face of crisis, resilient in adversity, wise in judgment, strong in mind, body, and spirit. That person is created today. In your small choices, your daily rituals, and your commitment to discipline. The Stoic truth is simple. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Your future self is waiting. Discipline is the bridge to meet them. The closing reminder. Do not wait for motivation to strike. Do not wait for the perfect conditions. The world is imperfect. People will fail you. Challenges will arrive. Discipline is your constant companion. Steady, unwavering, transformative. Adopt it. Live it. Own it. Your future self will thank you beyond measure.